All right, this is as real time as it gets. I genuinely haven't seen this thing yet.
Welcome to Spectre.
Man, I really thought I'd have an idea of what it might look like, having seen the prototype. It's a completely different vehicle. Wow, it's got some sculpture to it, hasn't it?
For sure, yeah, for sure. Unmistakably Rolls-Royce.
Absolutely. It's got some serious presence, huh?
Yeah.
So how long have you been working on this for now?
Wow, I've been with the project now for a good few years.
Okay.
Obviously, it's super exciting now for us to be able to share it with the world. We've been showing clients in Goodwood over the last few months.
Right. Okay.
Which has been super exciting and really incredible feedback, and now unveiling it to the world.
So for you, this is a massive deal. I mean, when you live and breathe something like this for so long, you must have been dying to get to this point, right?
Yeah, it's just great finally to hear people's feedback. It's been really, really positive. The design, I think, has really struck people. As I said, unmistakably Rolls-Royce. We've kept what makes a Rolls-Royce, both in terms of design, but also the features. And I think that's really resonated with people, both existing clients, of course, but also new clients as well.
So is this built on an entirely new chassis or architecture of luxury, as it were?
Yeah, exactly. This is built upon the architecture of luxury, which of course we introduced with Phantom, and then Cullinan was also built upon that, and then new Ghost, and now our first fully electric car is also built upon the architecture of luxury.
I mean, having no conventional B-pillar is stunning. Just this completely open, sweeping window line.
In the side profile, we refer to Spectre as sheer monolithic beauty, which I think is a really Rolls-Royce way of putting it, and that a lot of that comes from these really uninterrupted lines, the long wheelbase, of course. The face of really any Rolls-Royce goes a long way to defining the overall character, and on Spectre we call that serenity with presence. And there's a few key areas which really bring that. The first is the split headlight design, which has been seen throughout the history of Rolls-Royce, but last seen on Phantom Coupe, and that's another one of the reasons why we call Spectre the spiritual successor of Phantom Coupe. Secondly, the grille, the widest grille ever fitted to a Rolls-Royce, but of course a grille traditionally is there to allow air in to cool the V12, right? So we reimagined the grille, and that's one of the reasons why it's so wide, but also the grille vanes. They're not in this shape as they typically are, but more they're outwards. And that really shapes the air around the Super Coupe form.
Wow.
Spectre has a drag coefficient of just 0.25.
I don't know how you've done that, because I'm not sure if the camera's picking this up. The sheer scale of this thing is colossal. Wow, that's impressive, right?
Yeah, and lastly at the front, of course, the Spirit of Ecstasy, sat atop every Rolls-Royce. We mentioned it's been a long journey for Spectre, but just this was 830 hours of development, of testing, and of crafting this new Spirit of Ecstasy.
The Spirit of Ecstasy on Spectre was 830 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Of R&D, development, sculpting.
Yeah, wind testing,
I mean,
you name it.
If that doesn't set the context as to why Rolls-Royce is Rolls-Royce, I'm not sure anything else does. Do you know what's been fantastic is I'm actually now even more realizing the value of experiencing the prototype.
For sure.
Because to be inside that thing, I mean, I was only a passenger, so very much along for the ride, but it felt less like propulsion of a vehicle and more like there was a gigantic magnet in front of you just drawing you along the road. It was a very surreal feeling.
Exactly, and the first and foremost, Spectre is a Rolls-Royce. We were driven by creating a Super Coupe before we were driven by creating an electric car. You feel that with the drive as well. It feels like a Rolls-Royce, as it should. And of course the electric powertrain is so suited to everything we've strived for with a V12, and now we've got the perfect powertrain.
Talk to me about these wheels, because these are substantially large, aren't they?
They are. It's the only coupe with a 23-inch wheel in production, of course, and it was not seen, shall we say, since the 1920s on a Bugatti Royale. So they're really, really impressive, and of course they really suit the form of Spectre.
That probably, through the camera, helps to set context perhaps to its scale, because as a 23-inch wheel, it doesn't look out of proportion on this car. I mean, even on a fairly substantial SUV, 23 inches would look big, right? This just suits it.
And what's great is behind those wheels, we've got all-wheel drive and all-wheel steer. Plus, these wheels will be available with a winter tyre. So Spectre is coming to a ski resort near you. We really, particularly in the side profile, there's a real refinement to the design, always with Rolls-Royce. And there's 3 key lines, and we restrain ourselves, if you like, to those 3 key lines. So on Spectre, we have the silhouette, which is the roof line, which starts at the Spirit of Ecstasy and races rearwards down the fastback. We have the shoulder line, which runs through the coach door handle. And lastly, we have the waft line. And particularly the shoulder line and the waft line, you'll notice they taper as they reach the front of the car. And that gives this feeling of dynamism, of motion, even when the car is stationary.
I'm just trying to think how you've done that. It literally is. So it is a single piece from the front of the window line?
Yeah, so it starts at the pillar, obviously, and seamlessly runs all the way through, effectively to the bumper and the boot at the rear.
So entirely new design language when it comes to the rear lights.
The rear lights, I must say, I absolutely love because
they're super cool.
Again, there's real restraint in their design. They've been so wonderfully inset into the rear, and you'll notice they're extremely vertical. And that is a reference to the Pantheon grille at the front of Spectre. So we have this harmony of the verticality between the grille at the front and the tail light at the rear. We also see here the culmination of the aero two-tone. So Rolls-Royce is famous for its two-tone, which typically runs along the C-pillar line. But now with Spectre, we have a new interpretation of that, the aero two-tone. So just the bonnet, the roof, and the top of the boot here, with this brand new exclusive paint color for Spectre, chartreuse, in combination with diamond black.
It's sort of almost fluid, isn't it?
For sure,
It's so pure. However, what I quite like is towards the rear, I never thought I'd say this on a Rolls-Royce, a diffuser.
Exactly,
This Rolls-Royce has a diffuser.
For sure. So the floor with the battery, of course, is relatively flat. So we've got the diffusers at the rear, very subtle, like you say, but a nice detail really to finish off the tail of the car.
We've experienced some cars on the channel over the years where we've used the statement that it seems to bend physics. And we reserve that for special occasions. And honestly, being in this thing, I was like, there's no way a car of this mass can disguise its weight and handle, and it goes like hell, right? It goes like hell. So what's, up until this point, when we don't know power figures, we don't know range, what's the sort of ballpark on that?
So the range will be in excess of 500 kilometers.
Oh, wow. Decent.
Exactly.
That's substantial.
Exactly. And it's all about our customers' lifestyle and fulfilling their needs. So the beauty, of course, of charging is that you can do it from the comfort of your home.
So speaking of charging, I'm assuming this is the charging port.
So exactly where the fuel flap was. So in a very familiar place at the rear right of the car. Of course, we can take a look.
Oh, it's beautiful. Look at that. I mean, I'm sure I said this on the prototype experience, but I'm genuinely excited about Rolls-Royce going EV, and there's not many brands I can say that for. It just seems to fit the ethos of the brand perfectly, like massive amounts of torque, pure silence.
Exactly. I mean, this suits everything Rolls-Royce has been striving for now more than 100 years. It's crazy to think that in 1900 Charles Rolls prophesied an electric future.
Crazy.
Unbelievable. And now it's here, it's real, and the electric future for Rolls-Royce has begun.
What I actually quite like is, just because it's an electric car, you haven't sort of changed the feeling of it being a Rolls-Royce.
For sure.
You haven't gone, because it's something new, we need to, come up with a new design, inside.
Exactly, and that's the way we think it should be. The powertrain, of course, is new and extremely well suited to everything that we're doing, but it shouldn't rewrite the DNA of a Rolls-Royce. First of all, on the doors, we've taken the philosophy of our Starlight headliner and now created the Starlight doors. You can imagine, when the sun is setting, the atmosphere of the Starlight headliner and the Starlight doors is really special. In total, there's 4,800 stars across the doors. That doesn't include the headliner.
Doesn't include the headliner.
Doesn't include the headliner, no.
Wow.
We've got a new, what we like to call digital architecture of luxury, which is called Spirit. So all of the digital interactions you have with the car through the dials, which you can now bespoke to match the color of your interior, the central display, all of the sounds of the car are controlled through Spirit.
So will there be a signature sound?
Yeah, exactly. So we have developed, we like to think of it as an orchestra, and inside a Rolls-Royce is the world's smallest orchestra.
The quietest cars that I've been in historically have all been Rolls-Royce. The pre-production car, or not even pre-production, that prototype took quiet to a different world. This is something new. Seeing charging mode inside a Rolls-Royce is cool. Look at all these. So you've got a departure plan, I'm assuming, is something that you would set up in advance to sort of pre-condition it before charging.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll have, within our app, Whispers, we'll also have a lot of new features there in terms of connectivity to the car.
Exterior lighting, what's that one?
So that is, for example, for the illuminated grille, whether you want that to be just linked to your welcome lights or to have it on whilst you're driving, which frankly is my preference. I think that's such a great feature to have on, to really give Spectre a nighttime signature when you're driving.
I love that. A control for the ambient lighting of the front of your car, sir. How fabulous. I just think it looks awesome, man. It's so imposing and it's got loads of presence, but it's still sophisticated. It's like on the one half, it's sort of, if it was behind you, you'd get out of the way. But on the other side, if it drove past you in town, you wouldn't be offended by it. It's
there's this great way of the designers had almost on the mood board for Spectre, and that was a crouching lion.
Wow.
Because if you think of a lion, it looks not intimidating, but you know it's powerful, right? But it doesn't have to roar. You look into its eyes and you know it has
respect.
That. Exactly.
Respect.
And that was on the mood board for Spectre, and when you look at the face of the car, you see that.
Do you know what? I never thought I'd say you're right, but now you've said it. Now you've said it, there is this sort of stance about it, right? So one of the signature features of a Rolls-Royce is a vastly large bonnet. For historical reasons, quite obvious. There's no V12 under there anymore. So what's under there?
So we've got firstly the front motor to power the front wheels, and of course the rear motor at the back for the rear wheels. We have chosen actually not to have a frunk because we've got a huge amount of space in the rear, so there is a cover. And in fact, the only reason now to open the bonnet is to refill the washer fluid.
So this is your supercomputer server room in there.
Exactly. Exactly. There's two driving modes. The normal driving mode, if I can call it that, is relatively low recuperation, so it feels like driving a Rolls-Royce. The car will coast. You've got that waftability and that magic carpet ride feeling. And then there is a mode with much higher recuperation, which will effectively give you that one pedal feeling.
Sure.
Which around town in particular, but also if you're cruising, is a really nice feature. Of course, it's a different way of driving for sure, but once you're used to it, we think our clients will really utilize that.
I actually think it's one of, if you're going to go full electric, it's quite nice to embrace the features and tech that you couldn't otherwise do in a conventional car. And again, going back to going electric for Rolls-Royce, you might argue that enhances the luxury of it because it adds to its effortlessness, as it were. In the supercar, sports car world, it's a hurdle getting a diehard petrol head interested in something which historically has pulled at the heartstrings because of the way it sounds and vibrates, etc. And in this, it's genuinely an exciting proposition.
Well, our clients have been asking us for an electric car now for a little while, and I think we've timed it really well. Of course, it will be exciting to see the car on the road next year, and finally, if we think after 100 or more years since Charles Rolls said it, we've fulfilled that prophecy and Spectre will be on the road. And I think, as you say, Spectre for our clients is not a departure from everything they love about a Rolls-Royce. It's that magic carpet ride feeling, that effortless power, the silence, the refinement, the waftability.
Technically it's a 2+2, right? But the amount of space in the back is not conventional like a 2+2 at all.
No, exactly. You're right.
It's huge.
It is, I guess technically you're right, a 2+2, but it is built with 4 adults in mind, testament to the the designers, the craftspeople, the engineers who created it, and it's something that I know they're all rightly so really proud of.
They ought to be. It's honestly, it's truly stunning. Well, listen, thank you so much for showing us around. We really appreciate getting an early peek at it. Congratulations to you and the whole team. What this will be like when it's finally finished, refined, will just be blow away. So exciting time. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Cheers.